Hi, welcome back to Camp Chaos, and on this episode of the Tuesday Extra, we're going to do a tool shed tool review on one of my favorite tools that I got reacquainted with during the proportioning valve install in the XJS track car. And that would be the Eastwood Tools Brake Tubing Flaring Tool. It's a wonderful thing. Dang it. So before we talk about flaring tools, let's talk about flares. Now the reason you do this to the ends of tubes is so that you can get a sort of a wedging effect between the end of the tube that you want to convey fluid to, like a wheel cylinder, or from like a master cylinder. You turn a fitting on and this flare is trapped between the part, like the master cylinder, and the fitting that you're twisting it into the master cylinder with. And that flare is what seals between the line and that component. So we've got three types here. First of all, we got the single flare. This is never used in high pressure applications like automotive brakes. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen one of these, because of the fact that around the edge of that flare, when you stretch that metal, this can crack, cause a leak, and cause a failure. We'll move to the bubble flare at this point, because you need to do this before you get to here. And what happens here is that, again, you've got this tubing held in a fixture, and you've got this tool up here that has this 45-degree shape on it, and you force it down against the end of the tube and it deforms it down into the die down here, and you get this sort of it's not actually angular like I'm showing you here. What it is it actually looks like a bubble on the end of the tube. So you need to get this done before you do this. And what you do here is you take a mandrel, which is basically the opposite of this. It's got a 45-degree angle going up away from this nub right here, which goes in the middle of the tube in order to keep it open. And you force it down in, and that takes this material here and pushes it down on the inside. And that material edge that would normally want to cause a crack, that just doesn't happen. That material is down in here. In fact, that material gets compressed, and no way that's going to crack. So let's take a look at this tool and see how it's built. First of all, you've got a lug on the bottom that you can clamp up in a vise. Now we also have a round cylindrical projection here, which we can use to mount this turret on. Now if you look here, you can see that there's operation 0. That's regardless of what type of flare you're doing. This is what you use to bring the tube flush with the end of the die we're going to be using. And then you've got operation 1 for 3/16 tube, operation 2 for 3/16 tube, and at that point you're done. There's a ball in here someplace, a ball detent that actually, no, it's on the cylindrical thing here. Take this, slide it on, bang it on, and this thing indexes perfectly into the position that you need. Now, the thing that you're going to be clamping the tubing in is this die. You can see that there's a 45-degree flare here, or a surface here, that is the tool is going to push the material against to get the backside to 45 degrees. And then there's a sort of a cylindrical hole up front here that these tools are going to go into to do what they do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our tube and we're going to place it in here. We're going to stick it out about 1/4 of an inch just for giggles, so I can demonstrate what position 0 is. And that's how it looks. Now you see that there's a little bit of a gap there. Well, that's what we're going to use to actually provide the clamping force. So we're going to take this setup, slide it in here, and move it all the way back in the chamber that it rests in. And you can see that the tube is If I can zoom in here. The tube is sticking out of the end of the die here. We can now take this clamp, slide it over the top like this, and then push this pin in that secures it. So making sure that this die is all the way back, we're going to clamp this down lightly. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the handle, slide it in. There's a ball detent in here also. Now you can see that, I'm using my little flashlight here because the shadows are pretty bad under these conditions. We've got the tool in operation 0, and that's nothing more than a flat platen. And you can see the tube that's in there, and you can see the rectangular die that is pushed all the way against the back of the chamber here that it's clamped in. And we just got it lightly clamped in, because what we want to have happen here is when we come forward with this platen, we want that tubing to get pushed in flush with the front of the die. At that point then, we're going to take this clamp and really tighten this down. Okay, now the next step is to take operation 1 for 3/16. This is the tool that I had drawn up on the communication center. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and move this forward and push it. And it takes a little bit of leverage to do that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to operation 2, 3/16. And we're then going to take it and push it in again. That gives us a nice 45-degree flare. Now it must be said that before you do this, it's really easy to get excited about using your brand new Eastwood tool and forget to actually put the fitting on here before you do the flare. Because if you don't, what you're going to do is you're going to be cutting that flare off and doing it all again. Also, if you've got a grommet that you're going to be fitting through a firewall that is significantly smaller than the fitting that you're going to be sliding on here to work with this, you might want to put that on too. I mean, how long did that take? It was easy and it was fun to do. It's over too soon. Let me show you how I used to do this. I used to do it with this thing right here. I'm not even going to explain how this thing works, because you know what? I have no idea why I've hung on to that thing. Now this particular tool is one that I can honestly say that there is no other that I've used that has taken just a rotten job that I loathed doing and turned it into something that really is kind of enjoyable to do, and it's just kind of over too soon. So that's the good news. The bad news is, and it's not really bad news considering what this thing does, this is about, if I remember correctly, about $200. But like I said, it's a wonderful thing. Now, if you like these kinds of tool reviews and you want to see more of them, like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, and give us a comment down below so that we can know what we can do better. So we'll see you the next time on the Camp Chaos Chronicles.